Correct.
Item 4.1.2.
Correct.
If we go forward to page 379. At page 379, that's another information note that starts at 378. This particular information note, if you go to page 380, is dated February 26, 2025. And that, you recall that in the previous document we read, the lifespan of this task team was until the 28th of February, 2025. So the information note starting at 378 tells us at 380 that the lifespan tells us that this document was created 2 days before that task team was due to be dissolved. Do you note that?
Yes, sir.
And I want specifically to refer you then to page 379 of that same document, item 3.3. It says the current team consists of 2 detectives, 3 information collectors. At item 4, there are recommendations as at February 2025. And it reads, this office recommends the following. 4.1.1, the current team to be beefed up, in parentheses, total of 19 members, to cover Butterworth, Ngobo, Kofimvaba, Mtata, and Zolo. The team will be placed in Butterworth. 4.1.2, additional members required are as follows: 2 information collectors, 2 detectives, 4 NIU operators. So, its original lifespan was for 3 months, effectively, and at the end of that 3 months, clearly from this second information note, its lifespan was extended once again. And not only extended, the team was beefed up. And by adding members from other different units into this team, the specific team. You see that, you accept that?
Yes, correct.
And it is safe to assume that decision was taken because this team was, due to the efficacy of this team. Would that be a fair conclusion?
Yes.
Before we broke for tea, I was anxious to make one thing clear with you, that I and I don't think anyone within the Commission or reading these documents would question the wisdom of establishing that test team. And that wisdom is demonstrated by the documents themselves. In a period of 3 months since the establishment of this task team, as page 371 tells us, that when the team under the leadership of Major General Zulu, I would say, got onto the ground to work and deliver on their mandate, at item 2.2, General Zulu, it states the following. Major General Zulu interviewed the families and survivors and was able to draw 20 dockets related to murders and extortion. She discovered that little to nothing was done on the dockets. The first docket she worked on, she was able to arrest the suspect linked with more than 10 murders and extortion. The suspects were arrested at the Mall of Africa in Midrand. At 2.3, it notes, there is currently a breakthrough on other dockets, but need further investigation and linkages. Major General Zulu believes that she can end taxi violence and extortion in the 2 affected areas through arresting with convictions of the taxi bosses linked to the mentioned crimes. See where I'm reading, Minister?
Yes.
The task team was extended, page 378, and broadened to beyond Butterworth to include Komani, Mtata, Kofimvaba, and others listed at 2.3. The following is noted, and I read at 2.4. Survivors and victims started to come out and provided information on the case, and trust was built. 99% of dockets were never investigated. Do you see that?
Yes.
And we must accept that that happens in an environment where there's a murder and robbery unit.
Yes.
And that demonstrates, I would say, the efficacy of this particular, the notion of a task team, and this one in particular.
Yes.
And it is for that reason I put to you that it cannot be in any SAPS operation that the establishment of a task team, the notion of establishing a task team, can be rejected in favor of an organogram. It cannot be. Do you have a comment to that?
Not at all. You would recall, commissioners, that the two are not mutually exclusive. The idea of specialized units in the organogram and continued monitoring of developments on the ground, the result of which may demand that you do something over and above what organogram specialized units are doing. It's not mutually exclusive. It can happen. You now have specialized units, but you need reinforcement because of the extent of the upheaval or the problem in a particular area. Then you reinforce. And I did say what General Zulu was, Major General Zulu was leading. It would be a combination of people from the NIU, from TRT, and they go there, or any other combat unit, and then they go and work there, and so on. So it's not mutually exclusive. What the difference between that and what we're talking about in PKTT is that they are not in KZN to reinforce murder and robbery units. They are there as a silo, a kind of semi-permanent, if I could use that. In principle, there's nothing wrong with them having been established, dealing with what they were dealing with, but what is at stake now is that does NPKTT unit gets extended beyond 7 years while you now have murder and robbery, whose capacity you may not necessarily be using in its entirety, and then leading to coexistence. They are not there to reinforce and then go back, reinforce. They are kind of there sitting parallel with murder and robbery. There's a difference.
May I go back to the question Commissioner Baloyi asked you? And it's because you persist in the notion that they were there to reinforce murder and robbery.
Yes.
From the two information notes, one, the first being at page 371 that we referred to, and the next that we have just gone through of February 25, starting at 378. When I read both documents, I don't come away with the conclusion that this task team was intended to reinforce anything. So I would like your guidance with reference to these documents.
Yes.
From where I can derive such an understanding.
Maybe before you answer, Minister, okay. Also have regard at page 378, that information note, have regard to paragraph 2.2, which says dockets were collected from Provincial Serious and Violent Crime Unit and the team conducted further investigations. So have regard to that when you want to tell why this is different from the way the PKTT operates.
First, the precise question was, we don't read reinforcement here.
Yes.
And I did concede to Commissioner Baloyi that it's a question of precision in terms of writing from where I sit more than any other thing. They could have added precision. No, they could have added that element of being precise that it's reinforcement.
Okay.
But it comes in this particular form. But the understanding should be that they were going there to reinforce. They were not going there to be a silo or on a, they were going there reinforce. That's why they look at the dockers, they find what they find, because they are meant to reinforce, to say, so where are you, what are you struggling with? We are here for a few months, so let's work together and see how far. And that's one. And then on the other hand, PKTT was established exactly to do more or less. This is an example of what we are envisaging. And on the side of PKTT, it was established for 6 months and then leave once murder and robbery exists there. And then it took time, and they are there now, and we are not implementing. And by the way, I should say, PKTT are not guilty for that. It's us at management level who have created the situation that is there. They are doing what police are telling them to do. So an impression shouldn't be that they are wrong in what they're doing, because they are being allowed by management to do what they're doing. So, but I'm just explaining what should be, as opposed to what the obtaining case is.
Minister, that paragraph 2.2 in 378 tells us that Major General Zulu's team conducted investigations. There's a list there. So they became a self-contained team. So she says, we collected dockets, and then the team conducted further investigations. They applied for Section 205. They got post-mortem reports, photo albums for crime scenes. They did that. They took witness statements. They traced suspects. They applied for J50s. They did firearm inspections. So they were not there to let murder and robbery or serious and violent crime to do their work while they are back up. They took the dockets and they conducted the investigations. We have understood, that's exactly, or at least let me say I have understood, that's exactly what the PKTT does. They got the dockets and they did exactly the stuff. So the distinction that you seem to be drawing, so that's the one thing. The second thing is the PKTT, you're right, was originally established for a period, kept getting extended, but exactly the same here. It was first established in December 2024, and this which Advocate Sello is discussing with you requests and grants an extension for a further period. So that task team's set up for a fixed period gets extension doesn't seem to be the anomaly here. It's not an anomaly. That is unique to the PKTT. Your own task team of 2024 December, in fact, conducts investigations in exactly the same way the PKTT was doing, and then it requests an extension, and it gets it. The difference you're seeking to draw is not apparent to me. In fact, there is no difference.
Commissioners, I would say from where I sit, there is a difference. We're talking about 7 years, consistent extensions. Well, with what I spoke about post-2022, but
Okay, let me
these are
try. So
extensions.
the difference you're drawing is the one has been in existence for 7 years, not how they operate.
That's not, and how they, I'm still coming to that.
Okay.
7 years. And that side, it's 3 months, it's extension. The principle is the same, but practically it's different. They get there, they found out that there is serious and violent crimes within which there is murder and robbery, within which there is taxi. But their level of performance is as stated there. They take over their dockets, they find that there's this, they then pick up things and they start working in accordance with what is expected of police ordinary. In other words, if they were working the way, up to the level they were, they would have found all these things having been done. But there was precisely a complaint there because they were not performing well. I know the practical problems that were there.
But that's exactly how the PKTT came to be formed. There had been a task team, which is KZN based.
Correct.
Of the province, which was responsible for investigating these matters.
Correct.
And when the president intervened, it's because the work that was being done by whoever was dealing with matters there was not effective, and it was thought, let's form a task team. The PKTT was formed, but you responded exactly the same way in December to a problem in a different area. There's no difference in how they came about. There was policing happening in both jurisdictions, KZN and your Eastern Cape here. Policing was happening. Then there's a realization that it's not effective. The solution in KZN was the president formed an IMC, and that IMC resulted in a task team being formed. In this case of the Eastern Cape, you became aware of the failures of policing, and then you formed a task team. And that task team does investigations, takes the dockets, did investigations in the same way as the PKTT. So the foundation is exactly the same.
Correct.
Yes.
The principles are the same, but I'm saying there's a difference here, 7 years. The difference, again, is that there hasn't been action or existence of PKTT in line with the stats that I was shown, which show that political killings have gone down, but we're maintaining and so on. There doesn't seem to be strong assessments that are in consonant with this to allow the development of murder and robbery, whether for the worse or for the good. But we hold a view, a strong view, that say that if you want to deal with violence in South Africa, especially in the 4 provinces, have something that is stable, that is sustainable. Don't have a team, a task team on a temporal basis, because they are from where they come from a station and from elsewhere. Whereas these ones are from units that exist, combat units. It's simple taking them from where they are. You take them different from people that you take from a station. So there are those kind of differences. But the principles, I agree.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Commissioner. So then your challenge with PKTT was the period for which it had been in existence. 7 years you deemed too long.
In part.
Yes, in part.
Yes.
I'll accept that. Commissioner, are you aware of a task team called Operation Lock?
Ms. Sildo, you just called the minister commissioner.
Minister, I apologize. I've dealt with too many commissioners from EMPD, and please accept my apologies. Thank you. I wanted to establish, Minister, whether